Before we begin today's video, we want to give a special shout out to our new sponsor, the Star Wars Jedi Challenges augmented reality game. If you ever wanted to be in a lightsaber duel firsthand, then this game was made just for you. Take control of your inner Jedi and battle against some of the biggest villains from Star Wars, from Kylo Ren to Darth Maul. But that's not all, as there's also a more laid-back holochess mode, and another one that tests your wits as you command your forces. Be sure to get your own Jedi Challenges from Lenovo. A link to it will be in the description below. When it came to lightsaber combat, most Jedi and Sith learned the basic training methods and the traditional 6 fighting forms, usually specializing in 1 or 2 of them after getting a good understanding of them all. While the more experienced and talented duelists tended to train in the more advanced styles, like Form 7, others instead went on a different path of creating their own unique lightsaber fighting styles. This was done for numerous reasons, from developing unorthodox techniques in hopes of intimidating their opponents, to honing a style that better suited their physical bodies, and using their uncommon alien features to the fullest extent within a duel. So which lightsaber duelists were known for having the most unique and unorthodox fighting styles? First we have Darth Traya, who not only used one very unorthodox lightsaber fighting style, but 2. Her most prominent one was her ability to telekinetically wield 3 separate lightsabers with the Force. While the actual act of using the Force to wield lightsabers wasn't unheard of, as a few other Force users throughout history have used this ability in specific situations, Traya was known for being the most skilled in the technique and being able to effectively wield the most lightsabers at once. This ability was very effective against more narrow-minded fighters, who'd have a difficult time tracking all 3 blades, as well as less experienced opponents who may be greatly intimidated at what they witnessed. But at the end of the day, this technique wasn't as advantageous against high-skilled lightsaber duelists, who could easily deflect the flying lightsabers and penetrate their defenses with relative ease. Traya's other unique lightsaber fighting style was known as Trakata. This was a rare and risky dueling technique that required the user to frequently activate their lightsaber on and off mid-duel, as a means to bypass the opponent's defenses and to add confusion. So for example, if an opponent was attempting to block an incoming strike with their lightsaber, the usage of Trakata could bypass said defense, as the attacker's lightsaber would be shut off at the right moment and then turned back on to hit the opponent behind their lightsaber blade. This was of course a very risky dueling technique, but was able to catch even the most experienced duelists off balance. Next we have Kari's. She was a dark side adept of the Galactic Empire, and was a part of the winged species known as Skatri. Due to her ability to fly with her wings, Kari's used this flight ability and melded it into her lightsaber fighting style while being trained by Darth Vader. She went on to develop a hybrid form known as Trispes, which essentially was a combination of the aggressive Form 7 with the traditional aerial dueling techniques of her people. Trispes specialized on the user's flying abilities to attack their opponents from all directions, specifically the top, and to focus on decapitating the opponent during the duel. This form proved to be very effective, especially against those who weren't great at blocking attacks or slow at adapting to fighting against opponents who were capable of flying. The only other known user of this rare and unique lightsaber form was a dark Jedi named Maw, who through his repulsor lift and force flight ability was able to perform Trispes with deadly effectiveness as he soared overhead of his opponents during battle. Next is Oppo Rancisis. This old Jedi Master was a part of a species that gave him 2 additional arms, as well as a long, powerful tail. As such, he used the full extent of his body while dueling against opponents, which gave him a unique fighting style. Although he wielded only a single-bladed lightsaber, he used his other 3 hands to channel direct force attacks against his enemies. His large tail allowed him to jump incredibly high and swing around all over the place, as well as be used for strangling and throwing his opponents around the ground. He also used his tail as a way to distract his opponents and to have them focus on it while he went for the killing blow with his lightsaber. Next we have Irek Ismaren. Having a cybernetic suit installed in him that gave him 8 mini-bladed lightsabers scattered across his arms and knees, Irek obviously was going to have an unorthodox fighting style, based solely on how his weapons were wielded. By the time he had this lightsaber armor suit, Irek was effectively brain dead and just an unhinged beast. Because of this wild nature of his, he would literally just run at his enemies and widely slash at them with his arms and legs, hoping that one of the blades on his suit would hit them. This was an extremely unorthodox fighting style, and while it was somewhat effective in eliminating large groups of enemies in close-quarter combat, it was essentially useless against traditionally trained lightsaber duelists, who could easily and quickly cut him down. We then have Gork. He was a mutated Gamorrean Darksider, who was an absolute giant for his species, standing at over 3 meters in height. Due to his incredibly large size, he was given a specially modified lightsaber known as a light club, which was essentially a huge version of the ancient weapon that emitted a massive blade, up to 3 meters in length. Although typically those who used the light club still fought in the traditional lightsaber forms, Gork wasn't exactly the brightest tool in the toolbox. He treated his light club more like a blunt weapon, rather than an elegant sword, resulting in him swinging it down as if it were a baseball bat. While these strikes were incredibly powerful if they hit their target, they were of course slow and clumsy, tending to miss their target. Also, unlike most lightsaber duelists, Gork wasn't able to effectively block blaster bolts with his weapon, which ended up leading to his downfall as he was killed with a single blaster bolt that was shot right in front of him. Next, we of course have General Grievous. While this infamous Jedi killer was not force sensitive, he was able to make that up through his advanced cybernetics, which not only greatly increased his speed and reflexes, but also gave him an additional 2 arms. Although formidable in dueling in the traditional lightsaber forms, Grievous's deadliest strikes came from his unorthodox attacks that made full use of his cybernetics. His whirling storm of 4 lightsabers move was among his strongest, as it allowed him to do 20 strikes a second, which was enough to penetrate most Jedi defenses. His cybernetics also allowed him to spin his torso at 360 degrees in lightning-fast speed, which he used to fend off and overwhelm multiple Jedi at once. His powerful legs allowed him to make incredible jumps during fights, and be able to use them to crush his opponent's heads if they were unlucky enough to get caught within their claws. He also was able to wield lightsabers with his feet, giving him the ability to use 6 lightsabers at once if he so pleased, though such an act would likely be more dangerous to him than his enemies. One of his more infamous moves was to lock his opponent's lightsabers using his 2 main weapons, then to open up his other 2 arms and use them to penetrate the defenseless Jedi with his other 2 blades. Next we have Yoda. His small size and reach forced him to fight in a manner that required him to use agility and speed as a means of both dodging and attacking his opponents from all directions. The thing with Yoda was that his lightsaber skills were near perfect in execution with every single strike, and his incredible speed and agility allowed him to almost always be on the offensive as he leapt around and struck at his opponent at every direction. Most of his opponents were barely able to fend off his attacks, let alone defeat him while he was going all out. While it wasn't uncommon for similarly sized duelists to fight in a similar manner, Yoda took it to a whole other level, where his small size was actually an advantage in the fight, not a drawback. And finally we have Pong Krell. This 4-armed Jedi Master was among the very few to effectively wield 2 double-bladed lightsabers at once, which gave him unique dueling abilities as a result. Although we've never seen Krell in a lightsaber duel, we can assume that the effects of wielding 2 double-bladed lightsabers doubled their advantages that came with such weapons, which were an increased rate of attack and rapid blade movement. Also, double-bladed lightsabers were known for being excellent in defense, in which having 2 of them likely allowed Krell to easily construct a lightsaber wall around his entire body with relative ease. Thanks for watching this video. Help support the channel by becoming a member on our Patreon page, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. And as always, may the Force be with you.